Welcome to the SDG Media Zone on 20 September, day 2 of the General Assembly. Please, I'm going to start this next session. This session is quite special. It's with 2 of our Sustainable Development Goals advocates. They just chaired the SDG moment within the General Assembly just before the opening. And I would like you to help me welcome Mr. Forrest Whitaker and Mrs. Alaa Murabit. We have a lot of people. I'm very grateful for you to share this with us. There's a lot of people that were able to participate in the General Assembly, but there are many other people that haven't. So we would like to share with them a couple of your experience. So what was, for both of them, of course, what was your experience in chairing this SDG Year 1 moment? Maybe if you want to start, Mr. Whitaker.
I mean, it was exciting because it's the first anniversary of the SDGs being implemented. And it was an opportunity to get a chance to talk about some of the movement or advancement of what's going on, how it's been adopted by a lot of countries, how a lot of civil society and a lot of people have been taking these goals and using them as a blueprint to move forward the agendas of fulfilling the needs of the people. So it was exciting in that way.
No, it was definitely, I think, an experience where we could not only reflect on where we need to go, but really on the commitments that were made. We could ensure that everybody was on the same page, and we could reflect on a lot of the progress. I mean, in July, we had 22 countries using the goals, put that into their national action plans and present them at the high-level political forum, and I thought that that was very key, that there is some movement, particularly on a political level, and what we really need to be doing is translating that so that it applies for everybody everywhere.
And I want to thank you both for actually chairing that SDG moment. This is the first anniversary of the Sustainable Development Goals, and it's historic to have a political moment within the General Assembly to do it. So thank you so much. So tell me, so both of you are Sustainable Development Goals advocates, SDGs advocates. So what do you think are your priorities in this cycle? We have 14 years to go. What are your priorities? Do you want to start, Alaa?
Well, I think first and foremost, we can't act on anything unless we know about it. So I think our first job is to actually make sure that societies, from the regional, national, and local governments to civil society to people, students and teachers and doctors and nurses, all know about the Sustainable Development Goals. They need to be able to penetrate into every single space. So people have a blueprint that they can actually work with. And from my own experience, I know that when I have when I feel like there is some international or national cohesion, a plan, I can utilize it in my own work, and I can really kind of alter it so that it really allows for me to have a platform that is larger than my own organization or myself. Further to that, I'm probably the youngest Sustainable Development Goal advocate.
Yeah, I would say.
I don't look like most people you'll meet. I'm a young doctor, and I think that being able to show that we represent a myriad of different communities, being able to go into those communities, have influence and credibility within those communities, and really say to people who may not necessarily get that audience, we hear you, we want to work with you, and we're all in this together.
And it seems to me that as an SDG advocate, you want to convert and transform everybody into an advocate on their own communities for the SDGs.
I mean, I feel like if anybody knows about the SDGs and they hear about them, I don't think anybody here would say, I don't want for us to work on climate change. I don't think anybody here would say, I believe in poverty. I don't think anybody here would say, I think children should go to sleep hungry. So I think we're all naturally advocates. It just provides a nice little path that we can all be advocates together on. But we're all already advocates. We all believe in equal rights. We all believe in equal pay. We all believe that there should be peace and justice and strong institutions. And I think this allows for us to have a collective way to amplify our voices, to reach audiences. And I mean, it gives us a very nice logo and branding to make sure it gets across.
And you're wearing it, both of you. Well done.
Yeah,
tell me about your priorities as an SDG advocate.
I think I do want to push out the notion that people to understand that all of them are interrelated, that they're all connected with each other. And so when you start to work on education, and you start working with individuals, then you start to see from that their economic values starting to move up, the economy of their lives moving up. And so they're just balancing pieces of that. If we can embrace them, we'll be able to see poverty be decreased, because the education helped move forward the economy, which helped eradicate some of the poverty, which helped us move into some of the issues of homelessness or issues of housing that need to be dealt with as well. So, as she said, these are just a list of needs that the world has, that once they're fulfilled, we can be a more complete society with people who are actually taken care of and who feel like they're true participants of a life of liberty and a life of, I'm going to say plenty, but of sustainability. You know?
So true participation, but also the interconnectedness of how one thing affects the other in terms of, you know, like how do we push the agenda forward? So how do we put this together? And I want to recognize Thomas Gass, who's actually created this amazing platform to have 17 brilliant people that are putting their hearts and minds into this role of SDG Advocates. So members of the media, Thomas Gass. So the last question for you, because I know that our time is really crunched. I'm going to ask, just a second. What messages, on the final happy note, what messages would you like to convey to people around the world, and how can they be engaged in this process? How can they become, you know, like advocates themselves? Do you want to start?
I think it's really important, because I think it starts on the micro level of the individual. And I think there's a lot of things that we can do to be activists in our lives, to be able to address these issues, depending on where we are and in which ways. Whether that be for education, being able to like help supply people with tutoring, small things, talking about small little goals that people can take, whether it's about the environment, cleaning certain areas, protecting certain areas, whether it's about gender equality, making sure that we keep our minds active and allow the opportunities to happen for women in the same manner that they're happening for men. So in your own job space, in the way you respect, in the way you do certain things, who you hire. So there's a lot of things that can be applied inside of our lives that address these goals that the common man can do.
And normally people like in your shoes talk about themselves and about the work that they are doing, but you're not, so I will. I saw today, and I want to praise the Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative that has an incredible announcement today. So just want to praise and thank you for your message. Alaa, what do you think? What's the message that you would like to convey to people all around the world? Look at the camera. That's all of them there. Tell us. I'm here.
Well, I have a lot. No, I'm kidding. So I think I am going to go back to what you said about the interconnectedness and actually bring Thomas into this, because Thomas has a wonderful analogy, which I've co-opted and, in my opinion, perfected, really. But he has this analogy about the old proverb, you can teach a man to fish or you can feed him fish. And he says it's always better to teach a man to fish, but even if you teach him to fish and the oceans are gone, how is he going to fish? And to lead on to that, if you teach him to fish, but there are tanks on the lake, how is he going to fish? Or if he is too afraid to leave his home, or if there is no man in the room, you're going to, and you should be, teaching the women to fish. So it's about the fact that all of these goals are incredibly interconnected, but they're also very, very local. They're very local. The UN was a catalyst in bringing them together, but the UN is not going to be the one that actually implements them. They're not going to be the ones that change the world. Locally, when we recycle, when we teach our children equal rights, when we take our kids to school and when we validate them through education rather than through other means, when we tell girls their worth is more than just their body, when we tell nations their worth is more than just their military, that is what changes. That is what implements these goals, and the only way we can do that is if we're at home actually acting out on them. It's wonderful to all be here and to say we so strongly believe in these goals, but do we actually implement that in our own lives? Because if each and every single person on this planet was fully and wholeheartedly implementing them, we wouldn't even need to have SDG moments anymore. We wouldn't need to have sustainable development goals. So this is just a reminder for all of us within our individual capacities to do our best, professionally and personally, and to make sure that we're creating opportunities for others, to make sure that we're elevating the conversation so it's not simply about, what is in our immediate circle, but more about how we can benefit the global community through our own local actions.
Fantastic. The Sustainable Development Goals are not a piece of paper made by bureaucrats in the UN that are supposed to just stay at this stage. These are for the people. This is the plan for the future of the people and its planet. And there is no plan B. We have no plan B, but we have no planet B either. So we gotta get going. I want to invite Thomas Gass to join on stage just for a photo opportunity. And in the meantime, allow me and join me to thank Forrest Whitaker and Alaa Murabit.